Hey, I wanted to talk about Svelte and React and talk about what makes React what it is and why it's pretty easy to use and why Svelte is better from at least a DOM rendering standpoint. I know this is kind of a weird video, and so somebody sent me this a while back, some tweet about the fact that, oh, RxJS has, there's RxJS potential built into Svelte. So I'm a little confused by that. I'm like, I don't understand how that it makes sense. But I clicked on the link, and this is the example that was sent. It says basically, here's the results. This is actually making an API call, which is cool. So there's Ajax here. This is an RxJS tool to make Ajax requests, not fetch requests, but Ajax. So I could use fetch here. I'm sure. Let's see. I'll show you how something interesting works. If I wait, that's not gonna work. Where's the if I import from? You're not gonna know what any of this means, but from RxJS, I can convert a promise into a RxJS observable. So we do from and we wrap fetch. I'm only doing this to kind of make it obvious to people what's going on here. And this is still not going to work because there's no response. You have to do map of response.data, I think. It should be like response. No, response.json. Yeah, this thing. If it's a JSON response, I'm pretty sure it is response. Sorry. And then we need to import map. I don't know what this video's topic is going to be about. I just wanted to try something interesting. I wanted to record some videos, and so I'm recording this. I thought it'd be neat to talk about Svelte versus React, but I want to show you what this is from a perspective of somebody who maybe you don't know RxJS. So this is what errors look like in Svelte. This is what errors look like. Oh yes, I totally planned this. Cannot read JSON of undefined. Okay, so response is because comment that out, please. Thank you. If I plucked JSON here, I don't think it'd work because I think this might have a this context. So uncaught and promise each. Okay, this is Svelte error. Each only iterates over array-like objects. So we're getting something here with this, which is not what we expect to be getting. It's interesting too because it says it starts with an array. So this error must be happening after the data comes back. Start with here basically says when you have an observable, fire this first through the observable. To explain how that works, that's a lot more work. Basically, when you have like a fetch, you would have like .then and stuff like that. What if you had a .then that immediately executed before the fetch did? That's what a start with is. I know it's kind of weird. In typical fashion, like what you would do is you would call whatever function your .then calls and pass it this value. Right, but it's a little bit different with the RxJS. So RxJS. So let's tap here. This is my favorite debugging tool, is tap. And you just put console log in it, and then you can see what's going on. Message could not be cloned. Open dev. I don't care about cloning. What? Open dev tools? Yeah. I don't. There's nothing here. Oh my god, it's working. Oh no, I refreshed. Oh gosh. You know what? I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna give up. So it's formatted a little bit differently than I had it. Just give me a second here. Just trying to make it look better on the smaller screen. It's not that small, but to me it's smaller. It was actually a lot smaller than this before. All right, so let's see. So yeah, so we were getting 5 users from GitHub. We're plugging the response. I should probably start the video over. And I should start the video over. Or I could try it again. Let's try it again. Because if I refresh, it's going to go back to that version. Okay, so we do is import from RxJS proper, and then we're going to put the from in here, and then we're going to convert this call to a fetch call. And then it's going to, there's no pluck response here. We're going to get back, and we have to get map and tap. We need to get map and tap. I don't really want tap though, but we can put the tap here and just see what we get. But I want to see if we get a response back and we get response.json, we should be able to, switch map. Okay. Probably nobody understands what that means. Okay. Component was already destroyed. This is interesting because these are Svelte issues. These specifically are Svelte issues right here. Message could not be cloned. Okay, well, message could not be cloned is related to the response, I think. But the component was already destroyed. This sounds like a Svelte issue. I mean, look how it's formatted, too. But component meaning, like, this component. So Svelte is a little bit different from React. Maybe I should have just talked about this first. and what it looks like. I mean, this looks like React, right? But it's not. So, and there's a big difference on why it's not React. And this is again why I formatted it differently, because I had it like this. Okay, so if I refresh, I lose all it. So I'm gonna copy, but refreshing is not gonna help me. So I don't think I'm gonna do anything. There's no run button on this. This is the Svelte REPL, which is really nice because you can run your own code. The problem is I don't see a way to like trigger a run. Maybe it expects like, hey, you did it, so that's it. We could look at the JS output here. I'll explain this in detail. I've done this in an article, a couple articles, I think. I don't know how many are published though, so I can't really. I can direct you to a few of them. Okay, so we got from fetch. I mean, there's no reason to do any of this because the Ajax call worked, but I just wanted to show with a fetch, when you convert it to an RxJS promise, not an RxJS promise, sorry, when you convert the fetch promise into an RxJS observable using the from observable creator, then it comes down here and it should tap in console log and it should log something. Wait, it looks like it's working because it has an output. So I don't know what this is. I don't even know if we need to log it. Yeah, it's working. Oh, great. It's working. Fine. Perfect. So this is what you would expect to see with a fetch. If you use Axios, I don't know if they have Axios. I'm curious. Maybe he meant like, oh, RxJS is built into like the REPL, but let's try Axios here. From Axios. Oh, it fetched it. That is so cool. They do their REPL's awesome. Look at this. So it's using unpackage to pull it in, but it said it can't find the index in the Axios package, which is interesting to me. Which means you can't load it, right? Like if I log this, oh, it doesn't have my little key shortcuts. Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing. Interesting. So it tried to import Axios. Is there like another name for this package? No, because it's that point. Whatever. Let me try deleting this and then re-adding it. Maybe that'll fix it. No, can't find index.js. And HTTP, this is a Node.js library. So it thinks I'm in Node right now, and it's trying to run it through Node, something like that. Okay, well I can't use that. Darn. Okay, I'm gonna refresh this because I want it back to the Ajax. So all you're gonna do is convert this part to Ajax and then change you're gonna pluck the response off. Okay, so response is an array. It's this, and it's in Svelte is rendering an array here. Now their syntax is different from React because this is not JavaScript. So what's interesting is the JavaScript is in your script tag. This is just regular old HTML, except obviously it's got a proprietary syntax. I personally do not like the proprietary syntax, but this is what makes it different from React. So here's a smaller example. JavaScript, right, and a script tag, and then your template. And this is a Svelte file, is that you put your JavaScript at the top and whatever. And it converts this to JavaScript. Now, I know there is a lot of stuff being imported here, right? There's all this. This is the JavaScript output from it. So this part kind of sucks here, but what it's doing is it's creating these variables here, and it's calling it a fragment, right? And then it wait, hang on. Is this right? No, this is an element, which it's creating all in JavaScript. Okay, I mean, this is how these libraries work. It's taking this Svelte HTML language and it's converting it to JavaScript. That's all it's doing here. So here's your hello name. It's turning it into a template string, right, and stuff. So these are no ops, which is interesting. It's not using like function prototype or something, probably to save space. But what's interesting here is this PIO. I'm assuming this is, let's see, where's the development? Now I can read it. Okay, so still PIO. Okay, thanks. The SSR output. So this is what Node would see. Yeah, create SSR component. Interesting. They also have like DOM caching built in. It's very nice. The reason I'm talking about this at all is because React 18 came out and they're changing the way they're doing SSR. And so I wanted to explain how Svelte works because I thought people might be interested. And obviously I'm kind of going a roundabout. I was like doing this and having fun with it first. It's okay. This is a more casual video. So this is interesting. File. I don't remember that. But basically it's adding the H1 somewhere on your DOM. And that it's tracking it with some numbers and things like that. I don't know exactly how this works. I think that's interesting, but I don't know how it works. File, oh, is that's Svelte. I see. So it's adding a location. This H1 is in this file, and this is how it's tracking it. Now, I wonder if that's dev only. Yeah, that's dev only. It's probably for like the equivalent of hot module reloading in Svelte. That would be my guess. Okay, so let's see what else is in here. Dispatch dev. Okay, register block. Oh, this kind of reminds me of, if you've ever heard of Slate, this kind of reminds me of it. Okay. Blocks, I think, are what get rendered. When Svelte is doing rendering, it renders all the blocks in order. There's like a queue of them, and it just runs through them really fast. It doesn't have anything as like crazy as as React does with the fiber and concurrent mode, but it doesn't need it from what I've seen because it's significantly faster without that. So, okay. Let's see, instance. Okay, so this is there a variable? Yes, right here. This name. This looks like you're doing name equals world, right? Like a mutation, but under the hood it converts it to an observable. So they're doing it here as an initial state, but there should be somewhere where you can modify that value. I'm not sure, looking at this, where that's happening. But basically, under the hood, Svelte's doing all this code. You can see there's a lot of code here for that. Like, you're writing this, but it's like, what is this, right? And there's something where they do a dollar something, and they're able to mutate this value. Let's do this, for instance. Name equals 2, right? If we do that, our output here should, hello 2. And if we look in here, there should be new code here for the name being modified. Where is it? They're just doing equals. Come on, where's the part where like you click and it changes it and it shows the how it's doing? Invalidate. It's this. This is the function that gets called. So it's not calling it right now. Yeah, it's not calling it right now. But basically, if you call invalidate in the code, it will change the value of name with an observable such that only the DOM elements that reference that name are going to get updated. Whereas with React, it would just like re-render the entire thing. So this whole thing would get re-rendered every time. Let's say there's like a bunch of extra stuff in here, right? Like all of this would get re-rendered and the entire function would get rerun. Think of this like a function, but the way it works is like this breaks out into tons of these little functions here for each variable and each set of things, and they're doing all the hard work themselves to figure out how to manage this complex framework of values and updating state and whatever. And basically what it does is it ties this name to this component here, or this HTML, that this block, sorry, let's use the word block. So this block here of H1, it's tying it to this name properties. See here, context 0, right? And it's basically anytime a name updates with the invalidate function here, it will re-render this down here. So here it's not even calling invalidate because it's like, you did this and then you just changed it, so I don't care. I was hoping there would be something where maybe set timeout. Let's do set timeout. So if we do set timeout, and we can watch it over here in the result, we should see world, and then it should change to 2. But I don't want it to change that quickly. I want it to like spend 2 seconds. Yep, there it is. Okay, so if you look here, we should see the invalidate function called. This is what I'm looking for. Yeah, there it is. There it is. So set timeout. See, invalidate, which is a function call. So think of this like set state, right, in React. So it's calling set state 0. I wonder what the 0 is. And then this is our change. But look at name equals 2. Isn't that weird? Right? Like they took my code verbatim and put it in there. I don't know exactly how that works because that is a mutation. But in the way that Svelte works, it's able to modify this thing outside of the set timeout, like you would with. This is another way of doing JavaScript, right? I don't like mutations like this, but when you're writing it this way, it's not really mutating this. This is essentially a set state around it. The way you can tell it's a set state is because it's calling this and it's putting the value 2 in there. If this is probably still confusing to people. So name equals 2 will return the value 2 as a string. I mean, this string of 2. Maybe I can call it like times there. It'll return no, times is not good. What about fun? Okay, so hello fun. So this will return fun. And the reason it returns fun, let's do it in the console here real quick. So we'll do like name equals fun. What we got fun, right? And so it's doing is mutating the value of name, but also returning the value of it into the invalidate function. So that's how that's working. I don't know what the 0 is. I think the 0, if I do another one of these, and we're going to name this times. Okay, we can name this one times. It's still 0. That's interesting. I don't know what it does. What if I have another value here? So we do, instead of name, it's like email equals example tests at example.com. I mean, the email, it doesn't matter that it's an actual email. But I wonder if I put 2 values in here, and I do test2 at example.com. We should see that in the code here. This is so small, this little window. If I got rid, yeah, okay, there we go. I'm so sorry. I kept it small. Yeah. What? Why is this not being invalidated? That's interesting because it's not in the DOM. So it doesn't care. It's like, nah, I don't care. Interesting. And this is instance is correct. Instance should be for the entire component. Interesting. Okay, so let's render another element in H2 with the let's name like an input and put the value of the input as the email or something like that. Type. Oh, I want to do type email. Type text. The name of it, I'm not even going to name it email. I'm going to name it message. And the reason I'm going to do that is because if I click into the field, it will show my email address if I have a type email, and it's going to be really annoying, or even a name email. So I'm not going to do that. So the value of this input is going to be the email. Can I do it like this? I actually don't know. Pretty sure I can. Yeah, it worked. Okay, so this is kind of like React. Do I need to close it like this? No, I don't think so, because I believe this is regular. This is actual like HTML. Rich Harris, the guy who made Svelte, is a stickler for appealing to the standard, and so he won't do anything weird. And so I'm pretty sure you can do it like this because it's standard HTML5. So there you go. There's my test two. And if we change something, break it and then fix it, it should say test and then test two. Yeah, there you go. So now we're gonna look in here for the invalidate function. And the reason I know all this is because I looked into the source code in Svelte. I was like, oh, I don't understand what's this thing. Just like version 3 came out, and I was like, I don't get it. I'm going to look at it. There's some magic going on. And then I looked at it, and I was like, oh, this is like Knockout. And then he writes this whole thing. It's like, it's not like Knockout. And I was like, okay, but to me, it still looks like Knockout. And the way React is doing hooks is similar to Knockout. I think like Knockout was very cool because there was a lot of things that it did, but he had this whole thing about why it's not Knockout. I could look it up real quick and find out. But here we go. There is a 1, yes. So the second value you change will have a different index on it. That's interesting because it is saying that there are multiple things that happened in this run of the invalidate function, and these are things to look for. What's also interesting, I don't think that matters. No, it doesn't matter. The order doesn't matter. If I put the email first, it's going to be 1. Yep. The index is the first index of one of these. That's how it knows. Because otherwise, like you're doing email equals here, right? But it doesn't know this is the email address that changed, right? All it knows is it got a string value. So the 1 is the index of the value of what changed. So that makes a lot of sense, right? This is an interesting way of doing it. It's fast because you're just hitting these indexes. I mean, you could say, oh, you're hitting an object, but arrays, like indexing, hitting an index, I think is the same big O of 1 as an object would have. So this makes sense. And also these take up less space in terms, the 0 and the 1 take up less space in terms of your minification. So if we minify this, it's still the $$ invalidate. Interesting. They didn't rename it? There's no way. There's no way. This is not the minified version anyway. This is just, oh, this is the production version, not the minified. I see what's going on. Okay. So there's less dev code. Oh, I should have never done the dev part then, because that adds like extra hot module reloading stuff. Yeah. What's the SSR look like? I'm a little curious now. Okay, so there's 1 string being returned. I see. And it is, that's interesting here. These values, these attributes are templated in as the actual value of it, which to me, that's a little confusing. I don't know why it does that, but it's escape. It calls escape on name. That's very, very interesting because it is escaping your HTML. So you don't do cross-site scripting. Add attribute value, add attribute. Let's look at that function. Value of email. So in 0, this is not 1. This is 0. Okay. I wonder what add attribute is. Some internal Svelte thing. Okay, interesting. I wonder what they're doing with this. I wonder if this allows you to compute like asynchronous code. Let's see, how does it know what the value is? It shouldn't care. It should just pop the string in because these set timeouts should never get executed. There's no use effect here, right? And use effect in like the React world, it would never get executed server side, ever. So here with set timeout, this should never get executed server side, but Svelte doesn't know that. It's not statically analyzing my set timeouts, as you can see from the fact that they're here. And it did all this stuff, right? So it expects this to potentially change, even though it's not changing. So I'm wondering what was going on here. Like what's this add attribute? Very interesting. Maybe it's component caching, something. I don't know. But it, like, how does it know value? And then this email, like, how does it know what this value is attuned to? Because I know it's relative to this input. Is it because of this? Like, does it do some analysis? I'm not seeing any analysis. This looks like a React function, right? Take some arguments in. There's props here, right? I don't know what result is. And then it has something, it returns something back. And there's no result down here either. So this just looks like you take props and you render back, which is how React would work. Interesting. I don't know. feel like there's a lot about Svelte I don't know with server side. I don't remember this being a thing either. When I first looked at Svelte when 3.0 came out, I don't remember there being server side. So I've seen this code before, but I've not seen that one. And I was like typing over here and seeing over here what's going on, because I did some stuff in Svelte actually. If I can show it here, the background image. I'm assuming this is what it is. Where's my? Is it this? No, that's with my camera. So I'll go back to the monitor. But oops, sorry, I'll go back to the monitor. But there should be a way for you to see those numbers moving. I'm gonna try it real quick. Back to the monitor. So I was wrong. The server's down for that. And the reason the server's down is because I upgraded the Ubuntu version recently. It's on a VPS. And oops, I must have not restarted it. Now I feel dumb. I think I can do that real quick. Let's see. Okay, I'm back. I got it working. So let's try this now. I don't necessarily like Svelte, but I like that. And I honestly like what's behind the scenes, personally. There's a lot of good stuff here. Now, I don't like that it does all this conversion. I'd rather write this stuff myself and be explicit. I don't like magic. I also don't like mutations. So things like this, are problems to me. And they could be fixed. There are other ways to do it. It's easier for me to pass like a set state function to something rather than do something like this. But there are issues with the set state as well. Like, for instance, if you pass a function to a set state, it's going to assume that the return value of that function is the new state. Not that that the function itself is what you want to put in the state. It's not a common scenario, but it's happened to me multiple times. It's really annoying when it happens too. Yeah, there's no CSS. Okay, so that's cool. It does. Yeah, this is really neat. So we talked about all this, how to do it. There's Svelte, and that's why it's different from React. So this is just HTML. And it runs this HTML file as a Svelte file. It does some like compilation process, right? Obviously puts JavaScript here. Somehow it puts CSS. I don't know. It looks very opinionated. If the compiler has a way to do CSS, you probably want to do it the way they want to do it, which to me is really opinionated. But it's just a regular style tag with regular CSS. Now, if you're like use Sass and stuff like that, then just put your Sass in there. No big deal. Now, can you do things where you can tie CSS to certain things where you don't have to put class names everywhere? Like emotion, essentially. I don't know. I was just talking about this particular piece of JavaScript and talking about how the source code works because I thought it might be interesting for people. And it's also interesting for me because I haven't seen it in a while. It's just a short little video, right? But it's like almost 30 minutes. So let's say almost 25 minutes. This is Hello World. This is Hello, actually, Times. Okay. Yeah. This REPL also lets you create other components and then import them into your app, just like you would with Create React app or something, but it's all here in the REPL. The REPL is very, very powerful. I love this thing. Oh, I could have done that the whole time? Oh, I didn't think about it. But yeah, it's really nice. I like this. So if you want to use Svelte, I would highly recommend using the REPL, trying some stuff out, which was really cool with my RxJS example. Let's do that again. With my RxJS example here is that it pulled in RxJS itself. I didn't have to like do anything. What's weird, though, is it was not able to pull in Axios. So I find that very strange. Maybe it'll work now. I have to use I don't have to use double quotes, but I'm just doing it. Yeah, it's weird. It can't import it. It's definitely, this is trying to import Node.js libraries in the client. Node.js libraries in the client. And it's not, I mean, obviously it's not going to be able to. Yeah, hydratable. Oh, cool. You can hydrate too. Hmm. Well, if you have SSR, obviously you'd want to hydrate. But this is not. I don't know why this is doing this. It probably Axios has something weird, or the Svelte REPL does not support it, which just doesn't make sense. Most people use Axios. I would expect that to be supported. It said unpackage, but their REPL is running unpackage and then not giving the right context, and it's assuming it's like Node.js. Maybe the Axios library is just jacked. I don't know. Yeah, but this is really cool. So you can just put an observable here. And then what's interesting is like, where is the data going, right? So users is an observable. Oh, I'm coming back to square one. So the RxJS integration is here. So I don't know what the $sign in front of it is, but let's look at this example here. I don't know how the each works. I don't know what this $sign does. Users will return, if you subscribe to users, it will return an observable. Okay, let's just look at this output, because we can find it here. Users. That's weird. There's a $sign in front. Does it look for a $sign at the end to assume it's a... Yeah, what is it doing? Does it assume it's an observable? So like Svelte internally has observables, right? This invalidate function triggers... It's like a publisher for an observable. And they have internally like done stuff. So here we're doing the observable ourselves. And then there should be a subscribe. There is. It must be subscribing to users. Let's see. There it is. It's subscribing to users. And then the invalidate function runs on the subscribe function of users, and it's passing in this as the callback. So it's setting a value of $users to the output of users. I see. So what if you want to have multiple outputs though? Like, I don't understand. Can you return an object? Or I guess if you're returning an object, you can just track it as an object. But I feel like there's some limitations here. I just don't know what they are. But this is interesting. So this function is returning two things back. It's returning the user's observable and the value of the observable, which is, I mean, it's cool. It's built in. It's very specific to RxJS. I wonder if this $sign does it. If I get rid of that, does it still work? Let's see. It still subscribes. How does it know? How does it know? It's got to know somehow. There's got to be something in here that gives it the information so it can statically analyze it. But I do think it's really cool. Okay, so it puts a $sign in front of any kind of observable. I bet if I put the $sign here, that's what causes it. Because if I do this, it's obviously going to break, right? If I do this, it's not going to work either, because it's internally. Let me see. I think it's putting the $sign in front of it right here. That means that this is like an observable, and you need to subscribe to it separately. And it probably follows a standard observable syntax of .subscribe to get access to it. And then, but I don't know if this is like the regular JavaScript. Like, let's look up JavaScript observable, right? Observable. I thought this was not in the library though. I thought this is like, yeah, see, observable. No, not S. I'm just copy pasting. So it's weird because I'm getting array prototype, all this stuff. I thought there was an observable thing here, like new observable. Am I missing something? Because you can make observables. There's stuff like mutation observer. There's stuff like this, right? So you can make observables in JavaScript. Underlying, I'm assuming they see it's .observe, all this stuff. I guess what it is there's like a standard way of doing observables, but they're not official, and so Svelte supports it regardless. That would be my guess. And then when you put the $sign in front, it knows like, oh, I need to subscribe. Because if we look here, there's no subscribe function being imported. But if I put a $sign, there it is. So the $sign in front says this is observable. That's all it means. Interesting. I mean, it looks really weird. $users. But I mean, I guess there we go. And so it's basically, it's executing, it's a for each, right, of every user in this array. So it's expecting here, we know it's an array ourselves, and so we're telling Svelte it's an array. I wonder what happens if I don't put the start with, because it should error that's undefined, and we're trying to execute. Yeah, each can only iterate over array-like objects. Okay, interesting. And then there's a user, and the user has a login. I bet there's other information on the user. Can I pre this out? That's what I want to know. If I pre is what I want. Oh my gosh. Okay, and then this is it'll be json.stringify user. Yeah, and can we like make it prettier? Okay, so yeah, I mean we could basically, this works just like React. It's very fast. It's working just like React would. There's nothing crazy here. I mean, I've used Svelte enough to have like a very small grasp of it, but it hasn't been in any time in the last like 2 years or something. I don't know when Svelte 3 came out, but that's the only time I used it was back then. It's like I think I've done one other thing in it, but I don't remember. Just can't remember. I do too many projects. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so these are just, what are these? The first users, ID 1. So if we want to look for me, is it possible to query this and look for my user? Like what if I do user slash and I give it like an ID or a username? I'm curious. I don't know how to use their API. It's fine. I'm not gonna. This is not a video about their API. This is about Svelte. But there you go. I mean, you could use this just like React, right? The only difference is the syntax here. You're not doing a map. You're doing this kind of stuff. I don't like this at all, because Svelte is converting this obviously to some map internally. If we look here, we're gonna dot map. No, it's gonna for loop it. No, it probably loops it though. I swear it loops it. And $users. If we look for user, we'll find it. Here it is. Create block. Yeah. Please tell me how you are looping this. Return. There's a call. Okay. C is a function that we're defining on this object with this context. I don't know why it's not defining it like a property, and it's defining it as a method of the object we're returning, because there's no this. So I don't know why you're doing that. You don't need that. There must be a reason, but there's no reason to do it that way. Let's see. Do you save on a character? Colon and then space equals. Yeah, you save on characters, but there's no reason to do it this way otherwise. I mean, if you're going to minify it, maybe it'll do that for you. It will not. Most likely it will not, because they don't want to change the context of the code that you have, unless it analyzes it and it's like, oh, there's no this in here, so I'm going to, I don't know. That's probably a minor, super minor performance thing. Okay, so maybe I should send this to Rich Harris and see if he's like, no, you got it wrong. You don't understand it. It's kind of an impression of how I expect him to respond to me if I put something up. Doesn't mean anything bad about him, just how I expect it. So this is interesting too. We're doing a binary and right here on dirty with a comment and then 1. Okay, there's the 1 is what we're doing. Oh, I see. The 1 is the index of users. Oh, is this in dev mode? No. Interesting. Not really sure why it's doing that, but we're stringifying. Okay, so where's our loop? Is this how we're looping it? Like we're giving it functions, and then we gotta tell it like for each user. Oh, it must know that internally because it's a for each, right? So yeah, create each block. So in here you're defining what the value is. Hang on. Okay, why are we doing this? Come on, can we like convert it to? Oh no, it's more code. If we wrap this whole thing in a string call like this, like that. If we wrap it in string, then obviously it's going to use more code. So I'm assuming it's doing plus quote because we're overloading the operator to convert it to a string, like typecasting it. And that would be like a more efficient way of doing it. That's my only guess as to why it's doing that. It's like, to me, this code looks pretty nasty, but it's on purpose. Knowing anything I've studied on Rich Harris and Svelte, like he does this stuff with purpose. There's a reason for all this. It's not like there's a library underlying this that he didn't write. Everything here is something he wrote. So or somebody who's helping this Svelte wrote. But basically, this would not be in here if there was not a purpose for it. And I'm assuming a lot of this is so it minifies more. That's my guess. When he wrote this, he was working for the New York Times. I'm assuming when you got like millions of people going to your website, performance is key. And I don't know what else is running on that website, but in terms of Svelte, like he made it very performant. It really is performant. It's like stupidly fast at doing anything. It's very well done from that perspective. So I'm just looking at this output and trying to deconstruct it in my head. So what are we looking at here? I'm trying to figure out this each part. Now, I know that because it's in each block, there must be things here. That this is C is for callback, I'm assuming. M is for no clue. But this is our pre-tag. And then T0 and T1. I have no clue what any of this is. But it says, oh, append. Aha, an insert. Okay, this is like maybe document append or something. I don't know where we're getting this anchor tag. There's no anchor in here. That's interesting. CTX dirty. We didn't have a P before. It was a no-op. And D was a no-op. And I was a no-op or something like that. Whatever. Detaching. So this must be how you like component unmount kind of thing. This is how you gets called on unmount. Yeah, that's what this looks like to me. What's this part though? Context and dirty. Dirty means it's been changed potentially. That's I don't know why you would need to track that, but that's interesting. And then context is obviously the context of our component. Stringify. Yeah, but I mean, see, it's doing this thing again with the equal sign, where it equals some value and mutates a state probably up here. Yeah, see, it mutates that state. I don't know why it does that though. Maybe if you didn't give it a value or didn't change, it will use the exact same state from before, but no, it's computing it again. I don't know what it's doing there. Set data, T0 value. T0 is our thing. This is the value of T0. So this is the key, and this is the value. Here's our set state method from React, you know. But so it's set stating, but for what T0 is the key, maybe there's like an index. So it's able to index all these. But I didn't give it a like track by, you know, I didn't tell it how to track it. Like what's the, there's got to be some kind of tracking for this each. I could look it up right now. I'm not going to do it. It's not important. But, you know, in React, you have that key prop. This is probably using the index currently as the key prop, and there's some other way to do it, and that's why T0 is here, because T0 could be whatever you've defined as T0, but we don't have any code to get that value out of there. Okay, and then there's a new line, just kind of weird. I don't know where the T1 is coming from at all. Is the new line like this? Is like after this is a new line here, and it's including it? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. I didn't put that new line in there. It's also tabbing. Is it this? Is capturing that? In my pre? I'm not sure. Okay. It doesn't look like it's here. Yeah, so this is, I didn't want this to be that long. All right, now it's like 40 minutes. Here's a look at Svelte and how it works internally. And I'm basically just wasting everybody's time at this point. So there you go. Have fun. Yay. Cool. Okay, bye.